Hello, it's almost Halloween and I'm doing a different sort of video today. I'm trying to be a little bit more direct, and I'm trying to get like in certain channels or lanes that maybe somebody can find me, because I think I'm just kind of an unusual person, and so I think people don't know like how to find me. Like, I don't come up in feeds and stuff. But what I wanted to talk about today is the Akashic records, and that I can read the Akashic records, and other people can too, like people that could be called an intuitive or a psychic or a medium. Like, they can read the records as well. They often get paid to do it. Like, I don't get paid to do it. It's something that is part of my life mission. And sometimes people are like, well, you can't read the records. And they say it's, I'm reading from the astral plane and lower vibration things. And the thing is about reading the Akashic records is it's only opened like by like a spiritual key. Like, not everybody can read the records, and you have to show that you have right intent and pure intent. And my twin sister, could read the records when she was younger. It actually got taken away. See, the key can be removed. But so I, growing up, like as a teenager in my 20s, 30s, 40s, my sister could see things. And so she was a channel, and I didn't really, I didn't discount her, but I couldn't do it. And I wasn't like that. And then it was when our baby brother passed. He was 49 and I was 50, and it was like he gave me the gift. He gave me the key, and he didn't come down like in a flaming vision. Like, I didn't see Peter or hear him, but I just knew in a holistic, like through and through sense, that he was saying, don't cry for me, sis. There's more to my life than Peter Bachno, and I've been here before and I will come back again. Don't cry for me. He was really about comfort. And then I started on a mission of, I paid, like $400 to see this was in 2011. So it's been about a 13-year mission. I paid like this woman that wrote a book about her children saw their past lives. A lot of times children have a window into it. Like, children will say things about past lives that they couldn't have known, like, how to tie knots on a ship, or know something about Africa when they hadn't learned it or been there. So what a child says, and of course we switch genders as well, about being a man or having died in childbirth. Say, like, if a young boy said, oh yeah, like that life when I died, having you as a baby, mom. Like, that would be past life recall that they are channeling. So children can do it. So this woman, Carol Bowman, wrote a book about her children had seen their past lives and how it was healing. And she lived near me, so I went to see her. That was my first past life recall, and it was like terrifying. Like, my heart was pounding, because it's scary. Like, you're being, I was hypnotized, and I saw very karmic, very horrific past life. I legit thought I was going to die. And it was related to my one son, who was having a lot of problems at the time. And in the dream, he had burned to death in a fire, and I was his mother, and I had witnessed it. I had heard his screams, and I was never right after that, after having witnessed him. And then I started seeing things about how my whole life I had painted fires, and I had painted like the room. It was like a shed that he had burned in flames in. And the woman was, shame on Carol Bowman, she was not helpful. Like, I emailed her, I was like, wait, I think that this happened near where I live now. It's my son. I was trying to process like the trauma of it, and she was not available at all to help. And like, people really need, you really need like hand holding when you're starting to open the records. So that's what I'm here for. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm here for hand holding. Like, if you are starting to open the records and you see things and you're like, oh, like, one advice, like, I would love to give advice because it's my favorite thing. And so few people talk about it, or else can kind of handle it, because it can be dark. So anyway, I started that journey of spiritual people, going to healers, meditating, taking classes on esoteric systems, you know, the ascended masters, astrology, how do the planets influence us, different like kind of ages of humanity. You know, we're going into the age of Aquarius now, and this kind of past enlightenment is coming back. You know, astrology is more mainstream now. Spirituality is more mainstream, meditation is more mainstream. So, and and even me is becoming more mainstream, like it's my time. I am an Aquarius, and like I am part of this Aquarian age of kind of the new information that is being given out and about spirituality, meditation, and it could be through dreams, visions, like when you start opening the records. And it's part of the spiritual healing is to see your past lives and to kind of come to terms with where you've been and what's gone wrong, because something's gone wrong, and it will set up our next life. Like people like my husband will say, well, he says he's never been in any past life. It's like, funny, I remember you. So he wants to deny that he was ever here before, and he says, well, he's a very practical man, and thank God for that, because, you know, he takes care of a lot of things. And Linda, well, what would be the point? Well, the point is for our learning and healing. The point is for our learning and healing and where we are. So anyway, this is a long rambling story, I suppose. And, but, you know, how did I get so I can see the records is the question. Well, you know, learning, going to tarot readers, gypsy tarot readers. You know, everybody gave me a clue. It's kind of like, you know, Alice in Wonderland or Wizard of Oz, like Dorothy on the Yellow Brick Road. Like everybody gave me a clue. It was usually women that told me, go see this woman. And they gave me clues about, you know, my father was talking to me, ancestors were talking to me, things about my family in their past lives. And then I finally met a woman through somebody else, said, you really need to talk to this woman. And this woman is Jacqueline Ellis of Sacred Dialogues out in Idaho. And you can just Google her. And she is, you know, her whole life, she saw, you know, dead ancestors, dead people, you know, had vision. And she's about my age, and so she is a professional intuitive, and she's busy, you know, counseling people, and I've relied on her. Once I found her, this was 10 years ago, I locked in because she could see things and helped me. And so you need guides, and I would be your guide. See, I'm saying I would be your guide. And one of the first conversations she said to me, she said, Linda, she said, you are a wizard pretending to be a muggle. And I was like, wait, what? Like, because I was so being a mother, being kind of in this clan and doing everything proper and right. I was successfully raising children and keeping everything together, that I really, my spiritual knowledge and mission went underground, because it seems, you know, not practical. It seems like that's not practical. And when my children were grown, I was searching, like I was getting jobs, but like nothing felt right, like nothing was what I was called to do. And then when I met Jackie, she really helped me. And one of the things that opened the door for my whole project, which I'm doing, which is past life recall. That's what my mission here, besides like successfully raising my children, and I see where they were karmically, like they are my charge. Like I knew them in past lives. I'm the one to help them, heal them, bring them in to this life and stabilize them. So we have missions. And of course, my husband, I've been with him. He's the person that I've been married to more than any other. So when I saw him instantly, I was like, oh my God, that's my husband, you know. So I recognized that. And anyway, so there's that. So what I want to talk about, like reading the records, like how does that work? And again, you need guides, and you know, I could be a guide and to you. And like say with Jackie, my whole life I was obsessed with John Lennon, like the Beatles when I was like 12. Love with the Beatles, particularly John Lennon. And so I said, Jackie, what's with me and John Lennon? And she said, oh, you know, that I had 5 or 6 lives with him, and one of them intimately. And I'm like, oh snap. Like then when I started meditating, you can do it through meditation. I do map conings. That's something else somebody told me about, where your guides help you. And you can ask questions in a map coning of your, you know, team, your spiritual team. And what about this? What about that? And you know how to get yes or no answers in your body. Like for me, it was always like my stomach would be like your gut knows, like, you know, in your gut. It was like that. It was like a, I would get like a muscle response if I said yes or no, like, you know, did I know John Lennon here, there, you know, here, there, and everywhere. And so he started then coming through the door, like in visions of who he was in this past life. When I was Donatella, this is 1400s Venice, and he was a Russian, like, mercenary. People said, oh, there wasn't Russia at the time. I didn't know. Like, I was a courtesan. I was like a kind of starseed courtesan. I didn't know where people did, like, what they did when they didn't come see me. It was like this magical palace, and it was actually my home. It was actually where so he started coming through the door in like his red and black soldier uniform, and he was kind of angry, but he started revealing things to me. So shout out to John. He's one of my primary guides here, who helped me write, you know, like 500 pages. Like, he gave me a story, and what a character he is, Ivan Stravinsky. What an incredible, troubled, PTSD, conflicted, romantic, anti-hero lead, tragic lead he is. So yeah, so you can, you know, through meditation, you can ask questions through your dreams. You can like recurring dreams is a clue. And if somebody says something like out of the blue, like one time I was out to dinner with some friends, and I have an allergy to crab, and one of the women said, and I was very upset because my husband was drunk, and we went to a crab place, even though everybody knew I didn't want to be there. They just overrode me. So I felt like, oh, like I couldn't breathe, and I was very nervous, crabs all around the table. And the woman said, she says, don't worry, if you die, I get Gabby. That's my daughter. And I was like, oh snap. Like, at the time I was like, fuck, what a thing to say. And then I realized that in a past life, well, when I was Donatella, actually, that I did die, and she did get my daughter. So people will actually say, like, that's what people will actually act like their past lives, because I mean, there's people that say like all lives are happening at once, that all time is happening at once. That's why you can see the future. You see, because you envision it and you know it, and why you know the past. For me, it's just like remembering, like what my childhood was, or my children's childhood was. Like, remembering past lives is like that. And the more you work on it, the more you know. And I guess that's it. I guess that's all I wanted to say now. I don't see like everything. Like, it's not like, oh, I just open like the book and see anything. I see on a need to know basis. Like, I would know, like, say John Lennon, you know, I knew him as Ivan. I knew him in past lives before Ivan. But he's also been a woman prostitute. He has a lot of, what's the word? Compassion for the feminine. And you could see that in his persona as John Lennon, how he stood up for Yoko and said women are the leaders. And he was a feminine man in a lot of ways. He's been a voodoo, like on the islands, a voodoo shaman. He's been a sailor, and John Lennon liked to sail. He was Toulouse-Lautrec, and so my sister, when she could see the records, she said that. But yeah, if you look at pictures of John Lennon and you look at pictures of Toulouse-Lautrec, you can see, you know, the glasses, the face. If you look at John's artwork, you see his in the line drawings that he did, Toulouse-Lautrec's line drawings. And John did erotic art. He did erotic art with Yoko. They photographed themselves naked. They did naked movies, and Toulouse-Lautrec hung out with the prostitutes and drew them very compassionately. So again, this goes back to, you know, how I knew him as Ivan Stravinsky. He was he was my friend. Like, he was my lover. He understood me, and he understood that world of prostitution, and he'd been a in lives after that, he'd also been murdered, like, you know, stalked and murdered as a woman. So he understands the abuse of women by men and the sex trade. So anyway, I guess that's a good place to leave it, that John, and he says, hey honey, he says, name drop the shit out of me, because he says, you know, people tend to listen to him. He says he tends to have a wide swath. And in my novel, which is 500 pages, which I wrote, which I can't, like, I'm not that good of a writer. I wrote an incredible novel because I remembered these wild characters, and you know, I wouldn't be able to write a hero like Ivan. He's an incredible hero, and he will be incredible on the screen. And I'm going to put, like, when my TV series gets produced, I'm going to put, like, clues that it's John Lennon, and maybe, if, you know, I can get the rights to some Beatles music or thing. So he says, yeah, you know, make it fun, and that I'm here to tell the story, and that he's here to help me, you know, give me a little boost, because I'm often not listened to, is in lifetimes. People are like, well, she's crazy, and I'm like the one person in the room telling the truth. And so that's what I would just like to, if anybody has any discussion about Venice in the 1400s, or you think you know me from somewhere. I also, another hot spot that the French Revolution and Franz Liszt. What Franz is reincarnated as my one son now, and I was Marie Degas. They, you know, called Franz's mistress, but she was a writer, and I had children. One is my child again. So a lot of people, like, kind of I ran into a lot of people from that lifetime, and they see me again. And Marie wasn't popular either. Like, it's funny. You know, Franz was considered, well, he was a genius, and she was considered bitter. So a lot of people didn't take her side, even in that lifetime, even though she was very intelligent and her heart was in the right place. She was not popular. And so that's that. And that's that. So the French Revolution, also the Romanovs. I know in this life who all the Romanov children are reincarnated. I know who Nicholas Romanov is reincarnated. Some people want to talk about it and some people don't. And I also know who, like, 4 of the murderers were of the Romanovs. And again, this is a very touchy subject because it was PTSD all around. So that's the thing a lot of people don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about this. And who I'm looking for my project is actually people that were killers of the Romanovs. They're reincarnated. Little clue. After the life where they were assassins of the Romanovs, and I was married to the one, they became Sylvia Plath. And if, you know, I was reading this, you can just read it. If you read biographies of people, that's the other thing. I was like, you know, her attraction to suicide, her attraction to the darkness, her fixation with the darkness and violence was through and through her. And it was because of what she had seen and how she had died. That soul had died the life before Sylvia. So I'm looking for them again. I'm looking for this soul again. Sylvia died in 1963, and they're reincarnated now, and I'm looking for them for my project. So it's very complex, very rambling. Probably nobody stuck with me this whole time. If anybody did, and anybody has any questions, like I say, particularly, you know, the 1400s Venice, the Germain Palace, St. Germain, sex rituals, and French Revolution, you know, Franz Liszt, Chopin, like that circle, and the Russian Revolution, the Romanovs, and I can remember other past lives too. It gets very complex. That's it.